Hello everyone. I'm going to spend a little reading tonight. I did not write this book. I do not profit from the sale of it. And what else am I supposed to say? It's by John M. Barry. This is a book review. I mentioned it a few months ago and I got some questions. And I'm going to read chapter 21. Some of it, most of it, what I find interesting. Let me go turn that light out. One of my subscribers said that she had the book, and I guess it came out again last year when this virus started. If you'll notice, if you have this edition, it starts on page 242. Before that, and the way I use this book, I probably ought to explain that first. I've read it cover to cover a few times. But in the back, it has what's called the index. INDEX. Of keywords. So if you're wanting to study a subject, you look up a keyword like vaccines. Let's just do that right now. And the reason I encourage you to read this, like right here it says, influenza in the lungs. As I've mentioned before, my great uncle passed away at Fort Riley in Kansas in 1917 from pneumonia. They hadn't named it the Spanish flu yet. And whether they blamed it on the Spanish, and that's the reason it's called that, that's up for debate. But I looked here under vaccines, and I don't know how this will show. It talks about an anti-serum, which is if someone has had the disease, or even if they've injected dead bacteria. And I believe all of these are bacterias. Don't hold me to that, but I can look up viruses. And it will talk about antibiotics and viruses, which don't work with each other, trust me. Theories of origin. But let's get back to the vaccines, because when he passed away in 1917, and I've read this thing twice, and I started researching it, just prior to the outbreak of World War I in Europe, because the U.S. didn't get involved in 1917 officially. They were having spats over there, 1914, I believe, but it talks about diphtheria, influenza, treatment attempts, pneumonia, polio, and smallpox. And I had been vaccinated for all of those throughout my life from time to time. And on some of my blogs, which I do under a different name, I received a shot a few years ago that definitely made me sick and opened my eyes. And I don't mean sick for just a week. I felt like I was sick for a year or more. And the doctor would not talk to me about it because I had given permission. And it was between me and the vaccine company. Like they're going to answer my phone call. And they just wouldn't discuss it. And I had rashes on my side and inflammation, didn't feel well. And so here's what that was for. I did find some articles, wish I would have saved them years ago. Because other people reported the same things, but they had a whooping cough outbreak in Kansas City back around 2008. And I worked on the farm around rusty wire, and I knew that my grandfather had gotten lockjaw from tetanus. And back then, because he was middle of the Ozarks, Arkansas, lockjaw would kill you because, you just get all tense, you can't open your mouth. And so to pry his mouth open, they busted all of his teeth. And so I used to get a tetanus shot about every 10 years. And so when my doctor said, "Do you want to get a tetanus shot? You haven't had one lately." I said, "Sure." So he left and a nurse came in. And I saw some writing on the bottle that was more than the word tetanus, and I asked her about it. And she said, "It's your choice. It's your free choice. You want me to go get the doctor? Maybe he can explain it to you." I said, "No, let's just go with it because if I don't get it, I can't work at the farmer's market." And so what was in that mixture was for diphtheria, tetanus, and whooping cough. And once again, I have not read anything out of this on air. It will be checked by YouTube. But they had been experimenting with these vaccines. Did I freeze up? No, I went to sleep. Well, the sound is still on. So let me go ahead and in 1918 in particular, influenza struck so suddenly that many victims could remember the precise instant they knew they were sick. So suddenly that throughout the world reports were common of people who toppled off their horse and collapsed on the sidewalk. Isn't that what we were seeing in China last year? People just dropping in the streets. It was the lungs that had attracted the attentions of the pathologists first. Physicians and pathologists had many times seen lungs of those dead from pneumonia, because pneumonia was very common in the trenches of World War I. And the lungs did not look normal. Of course, we all know that if we listen to the news. Bacterial pneumonia. A congested lung sounds different from a healthy one. Solid tissue conducts breathing sounds to the chest wall, so someone listening can hear rails, crackling, or wheezing sounds, although it can also sound either dull or hyper resonant. if the congestion is dense enough and widespread enough, the lung is what they call consolidated. So the mucus inside your lungs has to be coughed out periodically. Reason being is because it's a protective layer that keeps dust and particles and other things from getting into your bloodstream. But my studies when I was a vegetarian was that the thing in mammals that gets your oxygen into your bloodstream is your green vegetables. And for years I've been doing spirulina. It's a type of algae that's very green, high in oxygen. And to make a long story short, I'm going to call this part 1, just to see if anyone is interested in me continuing with how I think all of this relates to what is going on now. Bottom line, eat your green veggies, stay healthy, wash your hands, wear your mask, do everything that's recommended. May redo this video, may just post it and see if anybody listened up to the 12-minute mark. So I'm not going to do my regular wave and it's going to call this part 1. Thank you.